G'day Knuckleheads, Uncle Knackers here, and welcome to my first ever project for 2017. Let's do it. Now the first project that I'll be tackling this year is going to be an outdoor table, and I'm going to make that out of this stack of reclaimed timber which I managed to salvage from the part demolition of our home last year. And what I really like about the idea is that we're using something from the old house and are going to be using it in the new house. I like that idea. So here's that old recycled fascia board that we've taken from the stack outside, and this is the recycled material that we'll be using to build our table. Now I absolutely love it. It's got so much character and I can't wait to put the whole thing together. But the first thing we need to do is that because these are old fascia boards, there's always a curved edge on one side. So the first thing we need to do is to rip that curve off, and that'll give us a nice straight edge. So when the boards butt together, they'll fit up nice and flush. Good stuff. Now some of you guys might remember that I've just bought myself a brand spanking new DeWalt table saw, and I would absolutely hate to ruin that brand new blade by cutting through a nail when I'm ripping down that fascia board. So before you start ripping down any timber, just make sure you de-nail it first, because you don't want to cut through any of those nails with that brand new saw blade. And a great way of doing it is by using a rare earth magnet. And just remember, just because you can't see the nail doesn't mean that it's not there, because sometimes the nail heads are sheared off and the body of the nail is deep within the wood. But anyway, I'll show you how to use one of these. So here's the rare earth magnet that I use, and it's about 25mm or 1 inch across. Now a rare earth magnet is incredibly powerful for its size, and they are great for detecting nails in old wood. Beautiful. And this is how I make my very fancy magnetic nail finder. All you need is a rare earth magnet about 1 inch across and an everyday washer which I've painted yellow just so you can see it more clearly, and I've attached some string to that washer. Now all you need to do is to get your magnet and attach it to that washer. There's our string, and actually I made a video on this, on how to find wall studs using this method, and it's an absolute ripping video, so make sure you check that one out, and I'll leave a link for that in the description box below. So there we have it. It's as simple as that. Let's give it a go. And to use it, all you have to do is place it magnet side down on the piece of wood or timber, and then just drag it along with the string. The reason for the string is that it lets the magnet do all the work. I'm not offering any resistance. So drag it along and bang, you've found a nail. Pull that nail out and just keep on going. Too easy. Now with all the boards having been de-nailed, it's now time to rip them down to size using my table saw. Alrighty, the boards are now ripped and are ready to be assembled, and I've laid them out onto the garage floor because my workbench wasn't quite wide enough. And I'm joining these boards together very simply with my trusty old biscuit joiner. And here is the biscuit that will be joining the boards together. Some biscuit and some glue. Now all you need to do is get a straight edge of some description, place it on top of the board, and every 300 millimeters or 12 inches, mark a line across those boards, and that is where the biscuit is going to be inserted. Too easy. And also, before you start doing your biscuit work, number the boards. That way when they go together, they'll go back in exactly the same spot where you've taken them from. Much easier. Okay, it's now time for us to start cutting the grooves in our planks for our biscuits using our trusty old biscuit joiner. Let's do it. Now, before you start using your biscuit joiner, just make sure that the piece that you're working on is clamped on either end securely to the bench top, because you don't want this piece moving around when you're using the power tool. Now, with your biscuit joiner, this is how easy these things are to use. You'll notice that in the center of the base plate, we have a groove. Just line that groove up to the mark that you've left on the piece that you're working on. Press it hard up against it and then just push in with the machine. Now that will leave a nice little groove which I'll clean out. Just like that, and then the biscuit just simply fits inside with some glue and Bob's your uncle. And now just go along and cut a biscuit groove wherever you've marked your plank. Go for it. It's now time to start gluing that tabletop together, and I've decided that it's too difficult to do it on the ground, so I've put these gluts on my workbench, and that should hold the tabletop beautifully. Beautiful! Now time to glue this baby together. Gluing the boards together is an absolute piece of cake. Just simply place the board on its side like that, fill the biscuit groove with a bit of glue, don't be shy, and then simply place in the biscuit, and do that right along the length of the board. And in addition to that, also run some glue along the edge. Do that to all of the boards, and then we'll clamp them together. Beauty. And now just bring the boards over, turn them around like that, and make sure that our marks line up, and tap it together. And do the rest on the remaining boards. And now just tap in this last board. And we're now ready for clamping. Now I'm just a bit out of luck because my longest clamp isn't quite long enough for the job. So what I'll have to do is just join a couple of smaller clamps together, and that should do the job. And it does. Beautiful. And to help keep the tabletop flat and stop it from cupping because of the clamps, what I'm going to do is screw a piece of timber to the top, and that should help keep everything nice and flat. Beautiful. And do the same up the other end. So now I've given the tabletop 2 whole days for that glue to fully dry, and now it's time to remove those clamps. Let's do it. And there we have it. The clamps are now off and the tabletop looks absolutely fantastic. But I did notice one thing, and that is when I removed the gluts off the top of the table, it just seemed to flex just that little bit because the tabletop is so heavy. So what I think I'll do is I'll put these gluts back on, which will make it that much more stable until the legs are installed. Better to be safe than sorry. It's now time to cut our tabletop to length. And what you can see is I've squared a black line across here. That is where I want the blade of the circular saw to run along. Now to get a beautiful straight cut, just get your straight edge and clamp it off on either end. The distance from that line, from the fence to the face of your blade. Run the fence along that straight edge and you'll finish up with a beautiful straight cut. Perfect. And don't forget your hearing and your eye protection. Beautiful. Apart from the fact I cut into my bench top a little bit. Bit of a schoolboy error there. Be careful next time. So that's it folks, part 1 done and dusted on how to build a table. Part 2 coming up, and in that episode we'll be looking at how to install these heavy old legs. And also we will be putting a beautiful finish on this beautiful old tabletop. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and as per usual, a big thumbs up is greatly appreciated, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more handy tips. I think I deserve a cup of tea. So till next time, I'm out of here. Cheers.